Welcome to BlackUSA.news morning show. I'm your host, William Honolulu Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real.
Greetings and salutations, all my friends out there in internet land. I am William Honolulu Jr., and I have the incredible honor and privilege of serving as the host of the Black USA News Morning Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Titillating Tuesdays. Y'all know how it gets on Tuesday. I'll be joined soon by our Chief Titillating Officer, Miss Stacey Dennis. Y'all know it's going to be a good time. It's always a good time when I get a chance to talk to Stacey. We're going to talk today about something that's very serious. We're going to talk about sexually transmitted infections. As the summer is heating up, people tend to, and we're opening back up. I read a report not too long ago that said the thing they're most looking forward to going back to work is improving their relationships and sex lives. I mean, I work by myself most of the time, so, my sex life is pretty cool with me. We good. But I'm imagining wait, you going to work to get, interesting. So we're going to cover that a little bit too. So as people start doing all this other types of stuff and engaging more, with COVID is top of mind, but we also need not forget about I'm confused. We need not forget about sexually transmitted diseases and their implication and impact on our lives. Let's see. Some other stuff I'm supposed to tell you. Y'all know I keep show notes. Let me get that done. Show notes. Let's see. Oh, what do I need to tell you? I need to tell you all about Breadcoin. Breadcoin is an amazing organization that provides opportunities for individuals to address issues of hunger, issues of food insecurity without having to sacrifice their dignity. At Breadcoin, they take your donations and they turn them into these coins. They put value toward these coins, and each coin right now is worth say $2.50. So when people get that $2.50 coin, they get an opportunity to go to some of the participating vendors. And once they get to the participating vendors, they pay with the coin, and nobody knows why they got the coin. Nobody knows that they have food insecurity or that they may be homeless or anything like that. They get to maintain their dignity while at the same time getting the resources that they need. So Breadcoin is an amazing organization, and I am so grateful that Black USA News has a partnership with them. And I encourage all of you all to go and take a look at their website, look them up and invite them to your community just to get to know more about them, because hunger is a really big issue in the Black community. Not just hunger as in not having anything to eat, but not having anything of quality to eat. So anything that we can do, we are more than happy to participate in. Now, don't forget that today is election day in Maryland. It is the primary election. And in some of your jurisdictions, the primary is more important than the general. Because once the primary happens, then because you have a solidly Democratic or solidly Republican district, after the primary, that person is normally going to rise to the level of the office. We have been doing continuing coverage of the primary election season, and we have you can visit us on our website or any of our social media feeds to check out what the candidates have been talking about. Oh, and I absolutely cannot go without letting you all know you all need to hit up Darker Than Blue Grill. It's a wonderful restaurant. The food is amazing, especially the Cowboy Prime Rib. That is phenomenal. So I encourage you all to go out and go to 413 North Charles Street to get Darker Than Blue and support our organization, a Black-owned business, Black-owned and Black-operated business that does a lot of great work in the Black community. Oh, you know what? Let me tell you about the Grinding Gang, my company. Hi. My name is William Honolulu Jr., and I'm the host of the Black USA News Morning Show and the president of the Grinding Gang Incorporated. The Grinding Gang is an organization that helps small business owners in the nonprofit and for-profit communities figure out how to make sense of all the noise.
There's a lot of information out there, and sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. We help you develop business plans. We help you figure out what to do with a lot of the information you receive. And we also help you figure out how to become more profitable. We also host a variety of workshops. You can check out our next workshop right here.
All right, so that's my company, The Grinding Gang. Just wanted to let you all know how we can help you and what goes on with my company. Let's see, what else? Girl, I want to make sure I cover everything before we get to the chief titillating officer, because today is Titillating Tuesday. So I think we're good. Let me look at the show notes. Give me a second. I'm running production here. I gotta do some things. Yeah. Remove that one because you gotta press buttons. There's a bunch of buttons to press because I'm trying to do the new high tech joint. Y'all know whenever I try to do the remote thing, it doesn't go well. But I keep trying. Oh, there she is. It's the chief titillating officer.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
How you doing today? How was your weekend?
I've got so much going on. This is why you have friends and you have backup people. Because what you didn't see backstage was me running around trying to get this 70-pound pit bull to not make noise, close the door that she just came in. Oh my God, what did she just knock over? She just knocked over the lamp. You know, the ring lamp is huge. What you didn't see was the chaos. And I'm like, thank you for talking about the grinding gang.
So funny.
I got back in my seat and started inhaling peppermint. I need to just wait.
Some of the people, they may have been hiding, because Trump was president for a while, and they may still have been hiding and not realizing that it was safe to come out. And they may be coming out now, and they may not know about the urban mystic apothecary. Tell them a little bit about that.
Oh, all this that you see behind me is Stacey in her lab. The Urban Mystic Apothecary, we basically create unique oil blends, mostly for aromatherapy. And I'm gonna specify mostly for aromatherapy because for you people to use a lot of these oils for their skin or ingest them, you really need to go to a certified herbalist or a naturopath before you hurt yourself. Because nothing back here is cut. They're all 100% distilled oils pressed from the leaf, the stem, the root, and they will kill you if you're not careful. I'll give a perfect example. One of these oils is wintergreen. You know how you eat your spearmint gum, your gum and your winter fresh? Yeah. Wintergreen oil is an actual oil, but once it hits the skin, it breaks down like salicylic acid. And if you know what that is, it's aspirin, which is a blood thinner. So if you're already on a blood thinner and then you put that on your skin, your doctor's going to be mad at you. You know what I mean? You may cause yourself harm. You may have bleeding. If you're pregnant, you may kind of miscarry. So things like that are important when dealing with natural oils. And so we give education to the public on what these oils can do scientifically, and we create unique blends for people.
All right. Okay.
What you see right here is my unique blend. This is lavender, peppermint, and champa attar. It is amazing and it is very calming when I just had to run after a 70-pound pit bull, which you could probably hear stomping up my stairs right now.
And I really appreciate the fact that a lot of your focus is on the educational aspect of it. It's not just here, because I see a lot of people who don't really know their craft well. They know how to mix a couple things. They got some good recipes. And now all of a sudden they are holding themselves out and giving advice that actually may be harmful to people. So again, all the time, I appreciate you educating people.
Yeah, what I don't want to do is mix something for someone and they put it on their skin and then they get burnt when they walk out into the sun. Or I was like, no, I didn't tell you to do that. I didn't tell you to do that. This is what this does. These are actually the active ingredients. And a lot of the anecdotal remedies that our parents and our grandparents actually use, they actually work. They just didn't know how they worked. My son's grandmother, when he was a few months old, she says, give him some catnip tea. And I was like, catnip, like that stuff, fluffy rolls around it and gets high. You want me to feed that to my son? You had lost your mind. What she did not say was that catnip was an actual herb similar to mint, and it does have sedative qualities. So when you get it, you boil it, pour some boiling water over it, let it cool. It will help you fall asleep. And I was like, well, she didn't say that. She told me to get some catnip. I'm thinking I'm going to the pet store.
She just told you to get that baby catnip.
Right. I'm thinking I'm going to the pet store. She didn't tell me that this was an actual mint family herb. She didn't say that much.
I think that might have changed your perspective had she indicated that.
All right, go ahead, darling. Anyway, that's what we do here at the Apothecary. We teach and we diffuse, we burn.
Good biz. So I want to make sure everybody understands that, because a lot of times we get caught into the westernized medicine where it has to be grown in a lab and turned into a pill form or some injectable form or something like that. When there's just a lot of regular stuff out there that will change your life, that will improve your life. And so I just want to make sure people understand when they come here, they're going to learn some stuff.
You're going to learn some stuff. You're going to learn some stuff today. And you're going to learn when it is prudent for you to actually seek medical advice from some people who have degrees and have studied this for years. Don't just lean on your own understanding for some stuff.
Woo, come on. So I think we should get started talking about sexually transmitted infections. Now, some of our older viewers may call them VD. Some of our midlife viewers may call it STDs.
Yep.
But now the term of art and a more precise definition of what we're dealing with is sexually transmitted infections.
Yep.
Because there is, our knowledge as a community about health and disease and the difference between disease and infection becomes really important, because disease is something you have, infection is something you might be able to prevent.
Exactly.
So, just as you start thinking about it. So, I want to cover a couple of statistics, Stacey, before, because let's be real quick. I will interrupt all today, because I love the sound of my own voice. But the subject matter expert on this one right here is Madam Dennis right here. So let's take a look at some of the statistics.
Woo!
1 in 5 people in the U.S. have a STI. That is 20% of the population. So if you are in a room so like right now I'm in the NAACP conference. There's about 2,000-3,000 people here. So doing the math, 20% of 3,000, that means there may be 600 people here who have STIs. When you look at college campuses, same type of math works. And I'll leave it to Stacey to talk about some of the outbreaks they have in populations on college campuses. What that means is that that's nearly 68 million infections in 2018. Remember, we only have 330,000 people, and 68 million of them have sexually transmitted infections. And of that, 2 million of them are new infections. And Stacey will talk more about people who continue to have infections and reinfections and how some diseases lead to other diseases. When you start understanding how some of this stuff works, it's crazy. And one of the more troubling statistics is that half of the new STIs were among youth between the ages of 15 and 24, high school to college age. One of the reasons that that's troubling is because they are very sexually active. So as the diseases can spread faster than among maybe a more mature population. Not always the case, because I remember when I used to be the chief of policy for the Infectious Disease and Environmental Health Administration, some of those senior centers, they was burning.
Woo!
Burning fire.
Go, Grandma. Go ahead.
Anyway, so I was, when I was there, I was like, well, when I retire, I got to decide whether this is the one I want to go to and be okay with, wear a condom, or, anyways, separate issue. I have random thoughts. But it also means that a lot of these youth who are contracting STIs, as they mature, as their bodies develop, as they start into their reproductive cycles and things like that, they may have done damage that may prevent them from having a healthy child. So that's one of the things to think about. And in direct medical care, $16 billion with a B, $16 billion for new STIs.
Yeah. Notice he said new. STIs.
Direct care, not the
So,
indirect stuff.
right, for new STIs. We're not talking about the care for STIs we could not get rid of and that are ongoing. So these are for new cases, not for the cases that are going to be here and they still need medical treatment. So, and also in those statistics, notice he said 20% of the population has tested positive for STDs. These are people who have tested. There are people who have not tested. Oh, it'll fine, it'll go away. It was nothing. You never tested. So you are not in that statistic, although you should be. So that statistic has got always have a little caveat on it, because there's a significant portion of those people who are never tested.
Absolutely. I remember one of the things when I used to work for the infectious disease department for the state health department. I mean, infectious disease administration for the state health department. I remember one of the big things they explained the difference, and I'll ask you to go into detail about the difference between incidence and prevalence if you could. But what they used to explain that really blew me is that the number of prevalence, like the standing amount of disease in the community, is an estimate, because, or at least with HIV, because of the research that had been done in populations nationwide and testing random samples, they recognized that 25% of people who are positive with HIV didn't know their status. So
Correct.
They had to figure out, like, okay, we know we have this number, so now we got to add this many in, because this is the real disease burden, that entire thing, the known and the unknown. And it's much more difficult to test the unknown or treat the unknown.
Let me tell the audience how William is able to make that statement on prevalence. So let's say 10 people came in and they got tested. They tested positive for HIV. And people like, what I used to do, disease intervention specialists went to these people and say, well, how many partners did you have? So instead of 10 out of 100 people in this community having HIV and you think your prevalence is 10%, when they all tell you, well, I've had 3 partners, your prevalence is a lot more, or maybe a lot more than 10%. It's definitely a lot. It's definitely more than 10%, because each of those people at least had 1 positive partner. So it's not 10%. It's a little more. So your prevalence is larger in that community. And that was a lot of the issues that we had. We had people who just didn't want to talk. So we never knew how many people they actually came in contact with. And then you had the people who just, 20, 30 people. And I'm like, I gotta find all of them. Please tell me you have contact information on them. That's a whole nother thing. That's a no. So the prevalence is a lot more. The incidence is how many cases that health department or that jurisdiction found that particular year. In addition, please, when y'all go and look up statistics, and I hope you do. Usually statistics are for eggheads like me, but when you do look up statistics, understand that those numbers are not necessarily current, because it takes a long time to gather so much information from so many health departments around the country. That data has to be cleaned up. Repeats have to be taken out of the number so you can get a true incident and stuff like that. So the numbers that we have, I think the latest numbers are 2020. It's 2022.
Well, let's talk a little bit about incidence and prevalence nationwide. So this is, I pulled this from the CDC, and I know Maryland is, well, at least the Baltimore-Towson jurisdiction is one of the ones that has a disproportionate burden. So, but this is nationwide. And I want you to look at this. The top line of each one, the darker green, is prevalence, and that's kind of the standing amount of disease in a particular population. So, and I can't remember what the date on this was. I apologize. I think this was the latest one they have, so it might be 2020 or 2021. So for that time, the number of people who, for example, had HPV, 42.5 million. The number of new incidents or new cases that they found in that year, 13 million. And so this gives you kind of Stacey, you want to talk about some of these diseases? Because again, this is your space, because I don't even know what HSV2 is.
Herpes simplex 2.
Okay, thank you.
So we got her. The herpes family is pretty interesting because herpes not only includes that cold sore you get on your lips, but it also includes in that family chickenpox. So it's very
I did not know
wide,
that.
huh?
I didn't know that.
Herpes zoster, it's chickenpox.
Huh.
And as kids, we all had it. So if they say, "Oh, you got herpes," and I was like, "Well, yeah, a lot of us do already." I be
This is what
killing
happens,
people with it.
some people here, you give them information they wasn't ready for.
Yeah. When I had people come into the clinic, she's like, "Man, I got herpes," and I was like, "Did you have chickenpox?" She said, "Yeah, you already had herpes." And they're like, and I was like, and the thing is that this one, the one that shows up on your lips, herpes simplex 1, it's going to react the same way as that chickenpox is. It's going to go away, and it's a virus. Let me just put it out there. The herpes family is a family of viruses, and herpes simplex 1 is the type that can be differentiated from herpes simplex 2 that usually shows up on the genitalia. And you can't look at it and be like, you got 2. No, because sometimes herpes simplex 1, the cold sore variety, can be down there too, depending on how you got it.
Hey.
So it could be, if your doctor sends off a lab, it can be differentiated in that way. They're going to react the same way. The herpes virus likes to stay near the ganglia, the nerve endings on your spine. And usually a healthy immune system will keep it at bay. But on that 1 week where you're just stressed, the kids get on your nerves, the man that made you mad, your car broke down, your boss is being a beat. You stressed, and all of a sudden you pop out a cold sore.
Okay.
And then your immune system will shut it down again after a few days. Those are called outbreaks. When you see the outbreak of the cold sore or on your genitalia, those are called outbreaks. Medications like acyclovir. What was that other medication that was on TV? Valtrex?
Oh, Valtrex, yeah.
It was Valtrex. They are antivirals, and they'll do the same thing. They will, once you take them, and I think it's like a pill a day or something like that. For the Valtrex, you take it, and it will decrease the amount of days that sore is visible, and it'll decrease the number of times a year you'll have that outbreak at all. That's the whole purpose of it. The virus is there to stay. You can't kill it. And it's just like chickenpox. If you've had chickenpox when you were a kid, you still have it. But if your immune system is healthy, you'll never see it again.
Gotcha.
The moment you do see it, it'll come out as shingles in the adult form.
Okay.
And unlike the itchy chickenpox we had as a kid, shingles burns.
Ooh.
Shingles hurts like hell.
Really?
And whatever nerve ending that chickenpox happened to settle on, whatever those nerves innervate, whatever nerve that is, and whatever space on your body that nerve feeds, is where that chickenpox rash will show. So, and it burns. It looks like someone took a torch and blistered the crap out of you, and it hurts a lot. So if you have older folks and they did not get their shingles vaccine, please tell them to go get it. You don't want it, because it doesn't go away and leave small scars like the kid variety. It's like a scars.
So it's like a burn, basically. Like your skin it burns from the inside, and so you end up with this kind of.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, when you see it, it looks like someone got pissed off at you, and I mean, it's painful. It hurts like hell. So if you have older people who did not get their chickenpox vaccine, please ask them to reconsider. If they have questions about it, ask their, clear it with their doctor and get it. You don't want anything to happen, and your chickenpox from when you were 8 came out and is now pissed off at you.
So let me ask you this, because one of the things that we talk about, and especially in this segment, is about the transmissible nature of infection. So going back to, and we're going to circle back around to HPV to kind of go through this, but whether it's shingles or whether it's 2 or whether it's 1, so like basically, could I catch shingles from somebody? Like they still got the whole.
No, shingles is there because you've already had the chickenpox virus inside you. Okay. You can't go to a 40-year-old and be like, touch your shingles. You can.
Okay.
Well, if it comes out, all those open blisters and sores, I wouldn't I wouldn't touch somebody with it.
Okay.
They're first of all, their skin is open, it's broken. They don't need your dirty fingers in it anyway.
Absolutely. That's a
But
whole
all of
thing.
the all of those are filled with little virus. But just leave them alone. Let them heal. It's so painful. So I feel so bad when my patients have it.
So talking about the transmissibility of
the herpes simplex 1 and 2, the cold sores, the virus has a tendency to shed even when your skin looks beautiful. And that's the danger in it, right? It's like, I didn't know I had herpes. Of course you didn't. Of course you didn't. And I don't know who I got these herpes from.
Herpes. Oh, I'm sorry.
I never saw a bump. I don't know who I got these herpes from. You got it from someone who wasn't having an outbreak. There's no telling when the virus will shed. There's not, it'll shed Tuesday at 8:00. No, it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that. It doesn't do that on schedule. It does it when it feels like it, because it's in your body, and it's got rain right now. The outbreak is your indication that sucker is there. And yeah, it's full of if you kiss somebody with that sucker out, of course, they have a chance of getting it, because that bump is full of little tiny virions, little tiny virus particles, and it'll go away. And usually you're good when the especially in appearance, you're good when the sore is not there, but the virus does have a tendency sometimes, not all the time. You're not just kicking out viruses walking down the street all the time, but sometimes it does have a tendency to shed. So if you happen to be having sex, given oral or it's possible that you could transmit it.
Okay. And so what about simplex 2? Is that only so that can be transmitted orally as well as genital?
So let's say you have herpes simplex 2 and you have it on the lips of your labia, and your partner is conducting some amazing oral sex. Yeah, they can get their herpes simplex 2 on their mouth.
And they'd have it on their mouth. It's not like mouth is only one and that and genitals are 2, or it can go. Right. You can have 1 or 2 in either place.
Right. Yeah, like I said, you can't tell the difference unless a doctor actually goes in and actually tests that particular sore to see which variety it is. But they're both treated the same way.
So why do people make a distinction between herpes 1 and herpes 2 then?
Because scientifically they are different. But when you look at it, you can't tell. They're like twins. You can't tell the difference.
So from a practical perspective, so like is there because I want to address people's mindset and a lot of the misinformation that, well, I know you hear all the time, but I heard when I was working in public health, things like, oh, it's not as bad if you get simplex 1 than if it's simplex 2. Like there's a hierarchy of ways to get it, or there's a different danger level from 1 to 2. So if you have 2,
I've never heard that there's a different danger level. Like, oh, I'm so glad I got 1. I've never heard that because they both look the same and we treat them the same. From a visual standpoint, I've never noticed a difference in now. If someone out there is working with herpes and y'all have developed a difference between 1 and 2 that I've never seen, please let me know. I would be interested in finding out, because I think that would be fascinating. But we've never treated them differently.
So what about the progression of disease? So let's say I have herpes simplex 2 and I don't treat it, versus I have herpes simplex 1 and it goes untreated. Is there any difference in the outcomes of it?
Yeah, outcome is several times a year you'll have an outbreak and then it'll go away.
For each one? Oh. So chickenpox can end up giving you shingles. Herpes just gives you sores, off and on forever. Okay. Because, and again, I remember growing up, every STI or VD was like, oh, somebody got it. Da, da, da. And so, like, I thought
yeah. Remember what we talked about in the other ones? Anything having to do with sex is just, if it's bad, it's 10 times as bad because it had to do with sex. You stubbed your toe. You stubbed your toe doing sex. Wait a minute.
That's what you get.
Let me see that toe.
Out there doing that nasty stuff anyway.
Let me see that toe, because that's got to be worse, because sex is extremely personal. But nobody wants. Nobody wants a virus you can't get rid of. Basically, point blank. Period. Chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, I can get rid of those.
Right,
Lice, I can treat those. I can treat crabs.
okay.
You know, I can't get rid of HIV right now, and I'm going to put that in the atmosphere so that the couple of research articles I saw will come true, of a couple people clearing that virus. So I'm gonna put that out in the atmosphere. But nobody wants a virus you can't get rid of. You got to deal with every time you get stressed and what the. And so, but there's no but so many people have it. Let me just put that out there. How many people do you know with a cold sore?
I've known a lot of people over the course of life who've ended up with cold sores. I mean, don't they have like a whole section in the grocery store where you can get cold sore stuff?
Hello, who doesn't have a little tiny bottle of Campho-Phenique? And then when they get that cold sore, they put that sucker on there and be like, "Go away, go away, go away, go away." You know what I mean? It's having sex with while you're having an outbreak. First of all, that sucker is tender. That sore is the sore does not like to be rubbed. You'll feel it. If the herpes sores happen to be for women, happen to be on the inside, or it's just uncomfortable. You know, it's just uncomfortable. And just want to put it out there for people who don't know, certain viruses and bacteria like certain cells. Like, I can't get herpes of the elbow. It don't like these type of cells. I can't be like, I'm gonna put my herpes on you. You know, it doesn't work. He said, I thought this dude, he elbowed me and now I got a herpes. No, that doesn't work. It don't like these cells. It likes the type of cells that line your lips, your eyes, your vaginal area, your penile area, your anal area. Those are the same type of cells. And so they'll show up there. And if you and think about what you do with those areas, you know, especially if you're sexually active and people are rubbing against it. Shit hurts.
Yeah.
It's a little painful.
All that stuff. I can imagine that being problematic.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow, this is a lot of information.
Man, just on herpes.
Yeah,
wait till you
get
my favorite one. Oh, it's not. It is my favorite one. I'm not even going to be ashamed of it.
What's your favorite one?
Syphilis.
Okay, so let's go back and talk about a little bit more about HPV, because I didn't talk about kind of the symptoms and that kind of stuff. HPV, the prevalence, the number of people in the United States.
Isn't it crazy?
42.5 million, and new cases in I think 2021, 13 million. So Stacey, give us the skinny on HPV. Like what? I thought at first I thought it was just a disease that there was an article and it's a disease that girls get and then the boys could get it, and then it was a vaccine and now everybody should be vaccinated, but blah 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 cancer and something about cancer. Like it's just a lot of information out there.
Okay, so just like with the other viruses, it's the human papilloma virus. And you see how many people actually have it? I remember when the vaccine came out, and everyone was like, I am not letting my child take it. Like, getting the vaccine was somehow goad your child into searching out the nearest genital area and jumping on it. I was like, what? Do you see how many people have it? 42.8 million is the prevalence. That is a huge portion of the population. And for God's sake, if you have a young person, consider going to get them tested and treated. It is a major cause of cancer and warts. It is, and I can't believe, it's the most common STD. And y'all don't want to talk about it. You want to talk about a whole country sticking their head in the sand.
Yeah.
There's no cure for the warts that it causes. It causes warts. Warts. It causes warts. It is passed sexually, and it is, the girls, we tend to get it more than anyone else. And because mommy and daddy don't want to admit that we are sexually active, it goes unnoticed. and the ability for it to cause cancer in girls. It's
Right.
just it's bad. It's bad.
Okay.
Go get your young people tested for it, please. And take the virus. It's not going. You get them protected for it. I promise you, once the needle comes out their arm, they're not going to be like, okay, let's go have sex. No one does that. No one does that. I want to be clear on the symptoms because I
Unless you're
haven't.
planning to have sex first.
Hello. So I want to be clear that because it's like it moves in silence. You often don't have symptoms until, if you pop out a wart on your anus, in your vagina, then you'll know something is there. But if it doesn't, you still have it. If you don't, some people don't get people don't get the sign or symptom of a wart, but you still have it. That's why it's important to have a checkup, a complete checkup, and be honest with yourself and with your doctor. Yeah, I have sex. Test me. Okay. So I want to be, and it's not reportable. So I just wanted to let you know, it's not one of those reportable infections like gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, HIV. It's not a reportable infection. So if you have HPV, I'm not going to be at your door and be like, let's talk about your HPV. No. So I never got patients that had to come to me for their HPV. So I want to be clear about the symptoms. And the fact that you often cannot get them. You often don't have them. All right. So according to the CDC, there's no cure for the virus once you get it. And the warts will go away on their own. And all we can do is mitigate the warts, which means we could treat them. We can try freezing them off.
Okay.
They'll come back.
Wait, freezing. So if I have warts, I could just get some ice and rub it on it, and it'll come off.
Negative. There is a solution. And you'll see you may see your. Wait a minute. The clinicians that walk around with the
somebody
can,
was out there. Oh, it's ice. I just gotta freeze it.
What? I see them walk around with the can. I was like, oh, I know where you're going. It's the WD-40 with the can and the wand that comes up. It's kind of like that. And you see them going into the room, and I'm like, I know what they're about to do. So they because the warts are out, you don't want the warts out. And it's not exactly the most comfortable thing in the world to have sex when you have a giant wart out. Is to freeze it off. The wart will come back, but hopefully you freeze it off again. It'll come back eventually. And then you freeze it off again, and hopefully it gets tired of being frozen off and comes back lesser and lesser prevalent every time. Instead of a big wart, 6-7 months later, it's a lot smaller when it comes out, because it's like, I'm tired of her freezing me. So
this ain't even fair.
Right. So our prevention focuses on you not getting the virus in the first place, hence getting vaccinated.
Okay.
What we don't want is to subject a whole bunch of young girls to cervical cancer.
Okay.
Because we don't want to subject you to cervical cancer. When you don't have no girls. My first pap smear was, God, when was my first? Actually, yeah, my first pap smear was after I started being sexually active after 20.
Okay.
Because I was a virgin before then, there was just no need. It was like, what are we pap smearing you for? What have you been doing? I was like, right. But for people who start younger, hopefully whoever's giving them the birth control pills is doing a pap smear. But if they're not, and if you're not getting, and if you're sexually active and your parents don't know that you're sexually active, they're not getting you a pap smear. They're not sending you to a GYN because they figure you're not sexually active.
No reason, yeah.
Right.
So, honesty seems to be a very big policy, and whenever we have these conversations, it always comes back to communication. Doing research, understanding how your body works, and also communicating how your body works and what's going on with your body with other people.
But as you can see,
and I've been quoting you everywhere I go. It's like people will lie on their mother before they talk about what they do when they drop their drawers.
And it's true. It is true. Yeah, send mommy to hell with that lie. And meanwhile, keeping your secret about your sex life, nobody cares.
So funny. All right, let's look at something else. Oh, this one, I just call it trick. So there are 2.6 million prevalence, but 6.9 million new infections. So is that because the new infections come, they get treated and go away, and so there's only 2.6 million people who just constantly have it?
You know how many people come back for trick? They just come back for it so often.
So what is it?
It's a parasite.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Wait a minute. For the people who have had trick and they're like, oh, I just got trick. I'm gonna just put this goop inside me so I can get rid of it. And that's what we usually do, right? We give you something, some metronidazole or something. We give you something to put. Mm-hmm. It's damn thing actually has legs, right? So if you look at
like it's a whole ass organism, not just a virus, but like
it's not funny because I had it once when I was younger, but now that I know what I know, I'm like, I'd have been freaked out if someone told me that what was in between my legs also has legs. I'd have been like, what?
Yeah, that does sound a little less than helpful. That's not necessarily good information for some of us.
Oh God. Okay, so let me tell you a little about trick. Trick, mm-hmm. It causes a foul discharge, foul smelling discharge. You know when something is like, I don't know what this is. My God, I opened my legs and my eyebrow fell off. I washed today. I don't know what this is because the odor is not coming from the outside where you wash, baby. It's coming from the inside. And it gives this discharge and it's itchy and you like, what the what? And when the doctor takes a sample of it and looks at it under the microscope, he'll see them some bitches walking. Just chilling. Okay. Walking around in your vaginal fluids like, what's up,
yo?
I'd have been freaked out.
They really are chilling in P Valley, babe. They really are chilling in P Valley.
The condition, yes. And let me tell you why. The conditions in the vagina are absolutely fantastic.
They are amazing, by the way.
The warm atmosphere, the moist weather in the vajayjay is absolutely fantastic for trick to proliferate. So let me tell you, I don't like the male penis too much because y'all pee too much through it. Our urethra and vaginal openings are two separate areas. The male has the same vaginal opening. So every time that I had a patient with trick, I would treat the girl and I would ask to treat her partner just on GP. But after a few days, chances are you've already pissed it out. You're constantly peeing and flushing the damn parasite out. And the parasite, I can't even get it good here. It's water coming through every 5 minutes.
So it's one of those things that and again, I'm just trying to figure all this stuff out. So if a man has trick and he would only have it for a short period of time.
And because of that, if he doesn't get the itching, he doesn't get the discharge because you're constantly pissing it out. The parasite doesn't have time to get.
I think you're missing my point though.
What?
If you are with your partner and you have trick and that is your only partner, that means that is not their only partner recently.
Oh, right. But don't get to the epi part of it yet.
Oh, sorry. I was like, wait a minute. I see a conclusion here, goddamn.
Don't get to the epi part of it yet. I'm getting to the virus, to the parasite. In my 14 years at the Baltimore City Health Department, I had one male test positive for trick. Once.
Okay.
And we test you for everything. But when that one male tested positive, we were looking at the other clinicians like, do you see that? They were like, wow. Wow, did you see this? We got a positive male. Because it's just not.
Look at him, it's like, wow, look at you.
Right. It's just not common. It's the women that are common because it likes the environment of the female vagina. It feels great. It likes the atmosphere. And so it proliferates into this foul smelling discharge. It is uncomfortable. And by the time it can't get comfortable in the male penis and y'all end up pissing it out. Y'all don't have the same symptoms, so you'll never know it was there. So why would you go into the doctor for it? Because you're fine. So
can men get it anally? Or can women, well, can anyone get it anally?
You know what? This is so bad to say. I was looking to find one of my either bi or LGBT men. I wanted to see if one would get it. Technically I would say yes, but I've never seen it.
So you've never seen a case of anal trick?
Okay. Don't mean it can't. So don't quote me because I would love to know if one of my clinicians had a case of anal trick. I've never had one.
Okay.
And it would be something I would have to research because I've never had one. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I was waiting. I was like, hey.
All right, let's look at some more diseases.
We get the burden of disease.
All right, you mentioned chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis together as kind of the treatable group. So let's look at this. For chlamydia, there's two, and you are absolutely right. And I want to highlight this, the point Stacey made earlier. We talk seriously about chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis. We're talking about less than 3 million cases. Less than 3 million cases. HPV, 42.5 million. So again, you have this thing with these diseases, kind of going to what Stacey says, is that you have a lot of new infections, but a low prevalence of infection. So tell us a little bit about gonorrhea, syphilis, and chlamydia.
I also want to put a little caveat as to that data. Is this the recent data? Is this 2020?
I think it's 2020 or 2021. I got it off the CDC website. So whatever their most recent thing is.
Right. Understand that we were all locked down for a long period of time. And because we were locked down, places like public health departments had either severely cut back or closed their clinics. Doctors weren't taking people for inpatient visits. The number of the incidents and all the diseases dropped during the time that we had time to stay in. We were forced to stay in. It wasn't that the disease wasn't there, it's that nobody was being tested.
Oh, you know what? I thought you were saying that because we were locking down, people weren't hooking up. You're saying
That's
that they
negative.
might still be hooking up.
Oh my God. You gonna make me stay in the house? What are we gonna do all the time in the house? We're gonna drink, we're gonna eat, that's not it.
You know what? I apologize. I was thinking about my COVID experience. So, cause I kept giving myself mental COVID. So I couldn't go outside at all. Like,
nope.
Okay. So normal people were still out having sex and stuff.
Oh my God. So this was like, we shut down, and we also shut down the ability for humans to get sexually stimulated. I don't think you did. I
thought that's why all the Pornhub stuff went up. Like Pornhub during
doesn't mean that they were alone.
Oh, touche. That was foreplay. That was pre-gaming. Okay.
Exactly. So I understand that these numbers, you're gonna have to put a little asterisk next to all of them because they are not. I don't believe they're the true indication of disease because people are still. It takes me 2 months to see my doctor now. Now, imagine what it was during COVID, where they were not allowing anybody into these health facilities unless you had COVID.
During COVID, some appointments you just couldn't even get.
You couldn't get it all. They were canceling appointments left and right. So understand that these numbers are absolutely not the true numbers because people were simply not being tested.
So let's take a look at that. I want to go back to that because that is a damn good point. I didn't even think about that. Let's see. I'm using a remote thing again. So you're suggesting that not just the lighter green, the incidence may be off, but maybe even the prevalence as well, because people who got it during those 2 years aren't added to the dark green number.
Well, and and I'm suggesting it because even the CDC noted they had an article on July 16th, 2021, and it said after the COVID-19 stay-at-home orders in the spring of 2020, STD cases dropped to 50%. Not because people were like, well, I'm not getting CDC, I'm not having sex. please. There are a lot of people who would rather miss dinner than miss. Yeah, we're not doing that. So they noted that chlamydia was 14% lower. Gonorrhea, incidentally, was 7% higher, and primary and secondary syphilis was 1% lower. And that may not sound like a lot, but we have a lot of cases, and 1% is actually a lot. There was reduced screening, limited resources, and stay-at-home orders, and they affected how many numbers were being counted, basically.
Wow.
Okay, so the clinics are just getting back into the swing of things. So I suspect that the numbers from this year are going to be interesting. And we won't find that out for another year and a half.
I would be interested in looking at parallel data for pregnancies and births over the same period of time, because you're going to report a birth like that. So you're going to report a birth, and so so the birth number should either be the same or higher under that theory that people just weren't coming out to get reported. And if it is, that would be, especially if the birth number is higher or the pregnancy number is higher, that would be scary.
We all
Because
heard
that
about
would
these little
suggest
pandemic babies y'all done had.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Little...
Like, I think that is, again, didn't think about it before, but as you say it makes perfect sense. It makes sense.
It makes it dangerous for the diseases that we can't get rid of. For people who had, everyone is stressed, and let's just be clear, sex is a stress reliever, and they're going to do the same things. They're going to do the same things because they're locked down. They're going to eat a lot. They're going to drink a lot. They're going to do that a lot.
Yes.
So
no. And so again, what I'm saying, and again, it's funny because I appreciate this conversation because that was not my COVID experience. Like, COVID scared the hell out of me so much. I was like, nope. It's like, if we want to do it, we might have to have masks on or something, because that might not work so well.
You good? I'm good. You good? Okay, then let's go.
Because honestly, that was for real. That was the thing for COVID, because COVID for me was more disruptive than kind of STIs. Because STIs, you can, what did they call it? Partner screen and do these types of things, and use what you know about populations and individuals to kind of determine your risk. With COVID, you could have gone to the grocery store, touched a can, and then came back and gave me. So again, I'm also, I have mental health issues. So part of my anxiety, this just took my anxiety to I think COVID sent me into the panic, like took my anxiety into panic. So that's what I'm saying. I greatly appreciate this, because when I sit, because I will be back into rooms talking about policy, and some of the policy I get asked to comment on because of my experience in public health is some public health policy. And I am grateful for you for bringing that up, because for me, I'd have been like, oh, look at these numbers. Things are working. Let's lock everybody the fuck down. And that's the way we stop diseases. But this is also one of the things that I talk about when it comes to how we engage each other. The fact that it's not as easy as headlines make it sound. It's not as easy as politicians' sound bites or talking points. There is a lot of on the ground information that people are missing as it goes up the chain of command. And these people who have sitting, the legislators and the judges and the elected officials and the government people, senior level people, they start looking at life from their perspective. And so, like, for me, I'd have been like, oh, no, let's, the number should be down. We can move some of that money. We can move some of the resources. But
no one ever makes accommodations for what is actually human behavior. And as a DIS person, I see what you came in with, but I'm looking at your human behavior. That's the whole point of me interviewing you, is to find out how you work as a human. And certain things are true no matter who came into my office. I had Hasidic Jews, I had imams, I had Baptist preachers, Catholic people come in to sit in my office. The human behavior was the same. The human behavior, the human reaction to stress is the same. So it doesn't matter what kind of box you try to squeeze yourself in. The fact that you're human will leach out. And it leaches out for us in certain areas. We eat a lot, we drink a lot, we fuck a lot. When we are stressed, we do things a lot when we are stressed. And this was one of them. And so in a couple years, when these numbers come out, I'd be very interested in seeing what they were.
I absolutely will as well. We coming up on time, so how about this? We do
Started. I'm getting
right,
good.
right.
This is my subject area. How are we fit?
Because this joint is important and there's a lot of stuff to cover. But you know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna take it back up next week. So let's look at the diseases we done covered already. Let's go take a look at that. So next week, let's do HIV, HBV, woo, and we took it. Oh, and let's wrap back up the symptoms of everybody of chlamydia, syphilis, because I also want to talk about X strain. So we're doing a part 2 next week, because this is really important. The other part 2, in our part 2, what I want to make sure that we do as well is to have the conversation about moving more toward the conversation about prevention. Like, how do you let me identification first, and when do you go to the doctor? How do you go to the doctor? What do you say? You know, I have a friend who just goes, and interestingly, she doesn't have a lot of high risk sexual behaviors, but every 6 months she goes and gets tested.
You don't have to. You just have to have one partner, and you need
I think part of her issue is that she has one partner at a time, but some of those times only last 1 or 2 months.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. I think that's why she gets tested every 6 months. But I also have people who have never been tested before. They're like, nah, fuck that shit. If I got it, I got it.
So this is what I told my patients. Before you enter into a sexual relationship, before you enter, go get yourself tested. So you'll know what you're bringing into this relationship. After you leave the relationship, go get tested. So you'll know what you've left what you left with in that relationship. And it's healthy for you. You're supposed to. I do not like the number of times I recall giving someone HIV positive results when it was their first time. And they were just like, I just, decide, not because they had any symptoms, because the initial, after the initial night sweats and flu-like symptoms, you don't get any symptoms for like 10 years with HIV. So they just decided, got my first sex partner, got my first piece, I'm gonna go and get checked out. Luckily. They didn't, in the cases that I'm thinking of, they didn't ask the same for their partner. They didn't require their partner to also get tested before they had sex with them. They had sex after the fact. And once you come into the clinic, I can only tell you what you've done. I can only tell you about what your body has gone through. That's why it's important that you get tested prior to you having sex with a new partner, and request that your partner do the same. It doesn't make any sense if you get tested and your partner, is giving up out of both drawer legs, and you can't. That's not right. It's got something.
One of the things that I remember, and again, we'll talk about this more next week, because I'm looking at the time like, I'm trying not. I'm out of state right now. I ain't trying to get in trouble out of state. That's some bullshit. But one of the things I remember when I was chief of policy for infectious disease was this idea of making testing routine as part of just your annual checkup, at least, because the issue was that people did risk-based testing. So if I don't think I'm at risk, then I don't need to get tested. Exactly. Which is one of the ways to have diseases spread or infections spread
all the time. We're going to talk about that.
We're going to talk about this next week, because this is some shit.
We are going to talk about that, because it was one of the things that just frustrated me more than anything. So, next week. I'm ready for you next week.
Oh, shit, daddy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Hey, anything you want to leave them with before we head out here for today? Leaving with for next week.
If you are in Maryland, please go vote. Today is primary day. As a matter of fact, I'm supposed to be across the street at my polling place, assisting one of my county execs for running for office. And so if you're out there, please go vote. Don't leave it to chance. Don't leave it to someone else to go vote in your state. They'll vote and we'll get over it. No, don't do that. You saw what we just got rid of. Don't do that. So please go vote, and please stay healthy and protect yourself.
Amen on that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it has been wonderful. It has been amazing. Don't forget to hit up mythicapothecary.com. Whoop, whoop. Go ahead and hit them up. Make sure that you and recognize that when you do hit them up, it's not just going to be I'm trying to sell you some products. It's going to be I'm going to try to educate you. Make sure you do what's good for you. I as always, I am so happy I get to share the screen with my chief titillating officer. Goddamn! And we will be black next week.